Hey, Robert here. So a couple of days ago, or maybe it was last week already, InGameJob.com released their big game industry employment survey of this year. And I thought it would be cool to take a deep dive into this massive PDF to see what we can learn from it and how the industry is doing. I will also add the link to the PDF in the description so you can also download it yourself. But that said, for this video, I made some notes of pages that are relevant to us artists. So let me share my screen here. So this is the PDF, and there is really some cool information in there. So first of all, the big highlights, and some of them are quite interesting. So 26% of people, so that's not only artists, but everybody in the game industry, experienced layoffs. Now, obviously, we know the state, so that's not really surprising, but it's still good to have those numbers seen and found. 13% left the game industry entirely. Maybe that's quite normal, actually. I mean, people always go in and out of it, so I don't think that's necessarily a strange number. A big chunk of the marketing professionals switched around, which is interesting because you would think that part of the industry is still highly needed. This one was kind of sad though. So 40% exited the industry when it came to juniors. So that kind of tells me a little bit how difficult it is to get into it. It has always been difficult, but from what I've seen and experienced the last couple of years, it's definitely the most difficult ever the last 3 or 4 years. 50% are job hunting over a year. Also nothing new here, to be very honest. Programmers specifically say 18% say that it takes longer than a year. So yeah, I think that's quite normal. It's always been like that. Almost 30% accepted less or worser terms for a new job or position, so a lower salary or position. Yeah, that is kind of a signal of how the industry is doing, obviously. What else here was interesting? This one, half of all reports and people experienced professional burnout. So the industry has always been playing with that component of burnout and overtime and stress. But yeah, to be honest, half of people reporting professional burnout is, yeah, that's not good. A little bit shocking to me, to be honest, because I had the impression how people experience the industry has really improved over the last 10 or 15 years. It used to be quite dramatic, like 10 years ago, or maybe that was 15 years ago already. So you hear less of those drama stories, but yeah, half, yeah, that's still an issue. Yeah, so that was quite important here. I took some notes of pages, so I'm just going to skip around. It's a really big PDF, 74 pages. Some salary information. So I'm going to focus on art specifically. So art and design for senior level is the lowest on the list, which is quite shocking. And these numbers around 40K, yeah, that's lower than I remember it being compared to like 5 or 10 years ago. So that's quite shocking. But it's funny how senior level art is at the lowest of the list, around 40K for the annual salary. But then in the middle level, we're somewhere in the middle of the stack, around the 25K, which is still crazy low in my opinion. And junior is, yeah, that's, yeah, those numbers are an issue. This is, by the way, for Europe, UK, and China. So for, yeah, gross salaries, that's per year, that's kind of, yeah, I know, a little bit shocking, to be honest. So the comparison is also here, which is interesting. So again, we're looking at senior, and art has definitely dropped this year compared to last year and the year before, which is not really a shock, of course, because we are all experience how difficult it is to either keep a job, find a job, or do the freelancing. So yeah, there's just a lot of competition out there because everybody is looking for work to do, and so people are accepting lower salaries. You know, here for the non-EU countries, it's a bit different. So that's interesting how especially the more higher paid parts of the world, Europe, China, they're taking the hit. Everywhere else, it seems to be better. That said, middle level is actually been going up. So that's also quite interesting how there's such a difference between the skill levels. That said, to not make this video too long, you see here too a massive cut again in the art and design part, with design being game design. So yeah, you really see that things have been plummeting a lot this year. Last year too, which is interesting because about a year or two ago, I think it was early last year, other numbers came out where we were over the peak of the industry drama and state. So you would have thought things would slowly get better, but some of these numbers definitely show that it's still, yeah, we're still not out of the woods yet. There are also some numbers here, so let me see on page 13. Yeah, exactly, on platforms, which is quite interesting. Social networks doing really good, obviously. Streaming is very big. Yeah, just cool numbers to look at. But specifically, what else did we have here? Was it this one? Yeah, just cool here, for example, with the different types of niches and how well they do. So hyper casual is still massively big, which I didn't expect myself, to be honest. So there's definitely some cool information in here. Outsourcing, cool to compare how that is compared to other, you know, companies or fields within the industry. Publishers still being at the top, which makes sense, of course. So yeah, that's interesting for us as Mesh Masters as well. Currently page 16. Yeah, so what do we have here? Oh yeah, this one was really cool. So how well do specific games or game types do? So fighting games apparently is really big still when it comes to the salary. And it's just cool to look at, like RTS games doing quite well, which is last couple of years coming up more and more and more. We definitely had like an RTS or strategy game low 5 years ago, or maybe that was 10 years ago already. AR being really low. Is there also VR in here? No. So that's interesting because we actually do VR, AR projects and clients quite often. So that's so low is interesting. I will say though that the whole VR, AR industry is a bit of a, sometimes like a sort of fluffy industry, for the lack of better words, where a lot of projects and companies are aiming for a business model or industry where the need isn't really there. So maybe that's the reason. But yeah, this is a cool list in general. Could be interesting for you fellow artists out there on what you could focus on when it comes to your art and your portfolio. So that's cool. Page 17. Yeah, now we're going to jump forward all the way to 33, which is a little bit about AI. Where specifically for art and design, you know, some cool numbers. I myself, I'm a pretty pro AI user, not really when it comes to art itself, but just helping with writing and text and coming up with ideas. I'm dyslexic myself, so I also use it often to just make my sentences and words better. So it's interesting how AI is influencing the world. Let me have a sip here. What else do we have? 36 was... oh yeah, so remote work is still pretty high on the list. On-site is still quite low, and I understand why, and I'm also quite a fan of remote work, even though with Mesh Masters I do prefer on-site and having the team together. But yeah, COVID really has boosted up remote work and hybrid. Hybrid, I think, is still the best form, to be honest. What else do we have? We are at, yeah, we're going to jump forward to 40. Job change, which is interesting. So about, yeah, 55% are still in the same position, which is good. About 16 were laid off. 10% were laid off, but still don't have a job, whereas the 16 do. And about 18% chose to change from by their own choice, which is good. Also here, junior, media, senior, team leads. Yeah, that makes sense, right? The lower you are in that sort of bracket, the more chance you had to have been laid off. But yeah, but that makes sense. Roughly about half, right? So that's you see that here too. About 40% of people changed or were laid off. So that's interesting. What else do we have here per type? So art and design. So about half again switched, were laid off by choice or not choice. So yeah, it kind of shows how the state of the industry is again, right? So now we're at 42. We're going to jump to 44, which was, yeah, how quickly did you find a job? So up to 3 months, which is relatively fast, actually. I'm quite surprised by that. So almost, yeah, 45% found a job really quickly. Yeah, it's all over the place. For some people, it took more than a year. In my own experience in the past, it always was about a year or so to get a new job. So in that sense, nothing really changed. It can just be difficult and takes a long time to get a job. Again, the brackets. So yeah, the lower you are in the bracket, so the more you're a beginner, the longer it takes, but that makes sense. But it's cool to see the stats. Again, art and design has it the worst, which again I think reflects what we are experiencing in the industry. So yeah, again, interesting stats. We are gonna probably jump ahead to 48. Where are we at? Job change. Yeah, so got a raise or took a lower pay or stayed the same regarding salary and position. And you see here too with, oh, my screenshot tool is broken again. The yeah, art definitely took a hit where many people, almost 40%, took a lower pay or role, which again reflects the industry state for us. And we are going to jump forward to 59. So I really filtered out the stuff that's interesting for us. Yeah, so this is more about how do you feel being the burnout, talking about burnout or overwork. So here you can see the numbers, how often people had to overwork, which, I don't know, I'm not surprised. I think it's pretty cool. Some people report never to have overworked. This is not only art, this is everything. You know, they're cool stats. 1 or 2 times a week is, I guess, a lot. But I always wonder how much was actually needed and how much was done by choice, because I tend to be a grinder. So I don't know, I kind of like overwork, especially if you're in a good family crew team and you're doing it together. I would even say those were the best times in the industry for me so far, is just as a team, just going all in to make the best product or results possible. But again, cool stats to look at. We are moving forward to 61, which was about, yeah, overtime per type. So again, the art and design, you know, 1/3. Guess depending on how you look at it, you could see that as a lot, but I'm not really surprised per se. Most people say it's fine, it makes sense to do overtime. And yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, we're in a passion industry, right? So we want to make the coolest shit ever. So yeah, if you're in there and you're doing overtime because you like what you're doing and you have the passion and the goal, yeah, why not? Go all in. It's cool. And then the last one I had was 69. yeah, so this is more like what issues do we face? Professional burnout being number one, and I do still find this quite shocking. Around half of people report burnout, which is a serious condition. Um, Now, of course, burnout has different levels or gradients to it, so I don't necessarily think this is completely burnt out. Otherwise, the industry would collapse. But it is still quite a signal of maybe we need to do better as the industry. I also had burnout myself 10 years ago. It's not good. But this one's also interesting and also not a surprise. Unprofessional or inefficient management. And I don't think that means we need to blame management. I think it is more a signal of what we are trying to do with games and art and everything. It's just crazy difficult. Not only from the product side and what we're trying to build, but also the people we have, like artists. In my own experience, being one myself and having an art team, yeah, we're not really the best professionals out there. To just give one example. So producing and management of these products we're building, it's just difficult. A lot of different people and expertise have to come together. So yeah, that makes sense, but something we can still be wary of and do better. Team conflict, yeah, have experienced that a lot, especially in the art team. Some funny stories there, to be honest, so that's cool. Yeah, so, there are still some issues out there, but every industry has that. I really think burnout is a big signal, though, that we can do better. So that was really the points that I filtered out of this document. It's a really cool document. I recommend you head over to InGameJob.com, or I will add this link in here. Yeah, have a look, have a read. It's cool. And I really think it reflects the state the industry has been in for post-COVID, so 4 years now, I believe. Where, in my opinion, it really has to do with the sort of COVID bubble bursting, in the sense of during and the year after COVID, entertainment was very big because everybody was consuming it. But after COVID, everybody was going outside and socializing again, so entertainment collapsed again. And the industry has been bursting because of that. Production was needed during COVID, but collapsed after COVID. So that's definitely a thing. The world state and economy and the whole geopolitics is also not helping in our industry. AI is not really helping. Plus, I think for art specifically, a lot of schools and people have been doing art courses, so there is just more competition. So everything combined, I think, is what we are experiencing. Also at Meshmasters, we experienced the same thing. We've always tracked and measured stats when it came to how many clients, how many people we talked to, marketing and everything. And you really see a massive drop in the stats this year and last year. I think we were kind of lucky that we only have experienced a low this year and last year compared to what I hear with many other people and companies. But it is affecting all of us, I would say. But yeah, maybe it's also a good thing. Industries sometimes need to rebalance, and we are seeing that everywhere, also in the games that are released. So yeah, we're definitely in a shift in that sense and a rebalance, but sometimes that's just needed. So yeah, cool document. Thanks to the people who worked on this and made this. Find the link in the description, and I will catch you in the next one.